My name is Pitt Turner. I'm Executive Director Emeritus of Uptime Institute, and another title I hold is Global Executive for Uptime Institute Networks, which we have in Asia, China, South America, North America, and EMEA. I've been with Uptime Institute since 1992, which makes me a long-time industry member, and I'm described often as a co-founder of Uptime Institute. We've seen a tremendous change in the interest in certification or in tier standards since they were originally created in the late 90s. And at this point in time, we have certified over 1,000 data center sites in 85 countries against the tier standard. What we really see that's interesting is that people use it not only to report to their own management to validate that they have achieved a goal or an objective that the project set out to achieve, but we also see it used in a third-party data center, a hosting environment, where the owners use it as part of a pre-qualification step, due diligence, if you will. And a client comes in and says, well, I need a concurrently maintainable site. It's easy for the prospective service provider to point to the plaque on the wall that says, we've been certified by Uptime Institute as Tier 3. It has immediate credibility that the prospective client can now throw away a lot of their due diligence checklist and move straight to the real decisions about economics and viability and compatibility and all those other things. So it's been really interesting to watch that and to see as one third-party service provider in a particular market gains their certification, and it can be an Uptime Institute tier certification. It can also be an Uptime Institute management and operations certification, which focuses on the day-to-day operation practices. Both of those are important differentiators for prospective clients, and of course the same for the service provider. It's interesting to note, one of the things we've learned out of our research, that once the infrastructure is established, commissioned, and made operational, the difference between a well-trained, well-equipped, well-managed operations staff and one that's more poorly trained, equipped, and operated makes all the difference in the world in terms of their availability over time. You can't change the infrastructure design because that's fixed now that you own or operate or have inherited the building, but how you manage and operate it makes a profound difference in what the long-term availability will be. I've been with Uptime Institute a long time, and one of the things that's really neat to look at in retrospect is the evolution from our large North American data center enterprise-centric history 20-something years ago to now where we're working with people on the edge, clients on the edge, even though, as earlier panel discussions indicated, we're not quite sure what that is or where that is. It'll look different to everyone involved in the discussion of what and where and how is the edge. But we know that there is compute, there's storage, there is important presence evolving towards the edge. And last week, just a week ago today in fact, we announced the introduction of the Uptime Institute Tier Ready program, which is a rollout with Compass, Schneider, and Huawei, where we are doing micro data centers, small modular data centers, between, say, under 100 kW and 1.2 megawatt, where we've looked at the design and it'll short cycle the process to get an actual certification of the completed installation because we already know that the fundamental design is there. It's designed for people who are putting compute and storage and functionality on the edge. We're very excited to roll that out with underscoring initial partners, and we already have a lot of discussion underway with additional people. So watch the edge, watch the migration, the transformation from North American large enterprise-centric to having product defined to fit in the edge and respond to short delivery terms on the edge. It's been a dynamic world in the last 25 years at Uptime Institute. I really enjoyed the panel yesterday. I felt like a little bit of like a duck out of water because I'm a kind of fundamentally a facilities guy, and there were all these other people in the IT world and the edge and the cloud, but there's a good important dynamic there. What we discovered is that as a data center is defined by each individual organization that needs one, and it may be different between you and I, edge is also undefined. There's no standard definition. It is a function of what the requirements are of the service provider who is approaching the edge. It may be here for one provider and there for another provider, and they may look in different sizes. We had two people adamantly say one is an edge data center, it's absolutely under 50 kW, and others said, well, we've got a 1 megawatt version of the edge, and so clearly there are differences in how they'll be used, where they're going to be put, what their functionality is, but that's all evolving. This was an important discussion today about what it looked like to a myriad of different perspectives, and all of those discussions are necessary for the industry to get a better understanding, even though it doesn't result in a single discrete, nice, tight definition of, oh, that's the edge, oh, I get it now. It will be dynamic, it will be driven by the business requirements of those providing it. And the network is what's going to string it all together. In the infrastructure world, Uptime Institute tier standards don't talk about the component count, because if you have n plus n or 2n or some other number, I can arrange it in a lot of different ways to get different levels of end result. And much the same in the network world. We say, well, network is the fiber that ties it all together, and you can tie it together in many ways. Some are going to be more successful, more resilient, more robust than other ways, but there are many, many options. One of the things I really enjoy coming to is events like this in the industry, where you get different people's perspective, different people's roles, different people's experiences and the responsibility, and you get them all to talk about the same thing. Yeah. This kind of event is really valuable. Whether it's in this continent or some other continent, all of them create an opportunity for people to exchange information. My personal goal in life is to learn something new every day, and these kinds of events are central to that. You know, everything in our industry goes back to what the requirements are. You talk about, I want a data center. Well, good. What are your requirements? That's the first place we start, because if you don't define the requirements, then you end up with people delivering something you don't need, and that's a gigantic waste of time and resource. So, in fact, you know, we laugh about that. There was a case study when I first began working with Uptime Institute about a project that I was not involved in. It was a large North American data center, enterprise data center, and the IT people thought, oh, we're going to build a new data center. They thought this will be the opportunity to break through the log jams of the past, to change the processes, to get a better result and a more functional data center. The real estate team, who was delivering on the design and construction, thought, oh yes, we've done this before, we know how to do it, we'll replicate last time. And they went through a multiple year design delivery process, and no one ever talked about what the requirement was till the site went operational. 6 months later, the facility people came to the IT people and said, we'd like to talk to you about your first maintenance shutdown. At which point the whole world exploded, because IT was operating under the premise that we would not require maintenance shutdowns in this brand new state-of-the-art facility. What's going on? And the root cause, they never talked about. What is it that we are delivering here? They never defined the requirements. I mean, it was a very large amount of money even 25 years ago.